It was unusually cold. To end our long-distance relationship, I resolutely moved to Beijing, starting a new life with my girlfriend in the city. We found a place in an old neighborhood far from the city center. Though it was on a high floor, the rent was relatively cheap. So we decided to rent a 7th-floor apartment. The neighborhood was old, but I didn't mind. When we moved in, the neighbors greeted us warmly, though the downstairs neighbor said something cryptic about being careful. I didn't think much of it. Maybe they meant to keep the noise down since we were right above them. Our apartment was 702, the first unit on the floor. The apartment across from us, 701, seemed to have been empty for a long time. The door was covered in dust. The landlord confirmed this, saying the entire floor was especially quiet, with only our unit occupied. But one night, everything changed. That evening, my girlfriend was staying at her parents' place, and I was alone in the living room watching a movie. Suddenly, I heard faint rustling sounds from the hallway. At first, I thought it was from downstairs, as the sound was vague and muffled. But as it grew clearer, I realized it sounded like a child running and playing. A sense of unease crept over me. The 7th floor only had us. How could there be a child playing here? I turned down the movie's volume, mustered my courage, and went to the door. Peering through the peephole, the sound suddenly stopped. Then, a loud bang, a door slamming shut. The hallway fell silent. It was past 2 a.m. I brushed it off, thinking I'd just go to bed, tucked warmly under the covers. With my cat curled up in my arms, I drifted into a deep sleep. Then it felt like someone was knocking on my door. My hair stood on end and I jolted awake, checking the time, 3 a.m. Who the hell is this? I thought, pretending not to hear. But the knocking came again, this time as if it were on my bedroom door. I sat up abruptly. The cat, as if sensing something, bolted away. Through the peephole in the front door, I saw 2 figures, one tall, one short. It looked like a thin, tall woman with a little girl. The peephole was old, making everything blurry. Gathering my courage, I called out through the door, "Who's there?" A voice replied, "I'm your neighbor from across the hall. Please remember to throw out your trash promptly, don't leave it at the door. It's dirty. My kid was playing outside and might have disturbed you." My sleepiness vanished as if doused with ice water. My hair stood on end. Wait a minute. 701 was supposed to be empty. How could there be a mother and daughter knocking at my door in the middle of the night? I let out a scream and woke up. It was just a nightmare. But in the daylight, it felt too real. I texted my girlfriend, telling her not to leave trash bags in the hallway, and to throw them out promptly. I didn't dare tell her about the nightmare. But what happened next was even stranger. That evening, I was watching TV, feeling waves of drowsiness. The room felt inexplicably cold. I glanced at the thermometer, 19 degrees Celsius, not bad. Maybe it was the beer. I didn't think much of it. The moment I turned off the TV, I froze. In the reflection on the screen, I saw a little girl playing on the carpet in my living room. I spun around, nothing was there. Was I drunk, or was there something else? I nearly fainted. I turned the TV back on, then off again. Everything was normal. They say alcohol makes cowards brave. But that's nonsense. When something truly terrifying happens, the alcohol flees faster than you do. I was instantly sober. That night, I left the lights on, locked all 4 of my cats in the room with me, and tried to sleep. I hadn't slept well the previous night, and with 2 beers in me, drowsiness kept tugging at my eyelids. I passed out. In a haze, I heard knocking again. This time, I opened the door. As expected, it was the same mother and daughter. The tall, thin woman was clearer now, white shirt, blue professional skirt. She held the little girl's hand and said, "Sorry, my child is too naughty. Come visit us sometime." I woke up again. Damn it, why is this dream continuing? What was with this mother and daughter? What secret was 701 hiding? At noon, I worked up the courage to knock on 701's door. No response. But there was a faint buzzing sound from inside. Like someone talking, but not quite. I went downstairs to ask the neighbors in 601. They said they'd only moved in a few months ago, and often heard children playing upstairs but didn't think much of it. Since it was an open complex with apartments, they figured kids from the building were playing inside because it was too cold outside. Back home, I wondered if I was just stressed and overly sensitive. The next few days were normal, but I had to sleep with the light on every night. Then I went on a business trip for a few days. When I returned, it was past 1 a.m. and I was exhausted. But as I approached my door, I froze. 701's door was slightly ajar. My hand trembled as I held my keys. Suddenly, a scream came from inside 701, followed by footsteps. I rushed into my apartment and locked the door. Curiosity got the better of me, so I pressed my ear to the door, listening. The footsteps grew closer, then ran down the stairs, gripping a kitchen knife behind my back. I cautiously opened my door. 701's door was wide open. The room pitch black, no lights. I turned on my phone's flashlight. The room was covered in dust, clearly uninhabited for a long time. On the wall hung a photo of the mother and daughter from my dreams. The faint buzzing sound grew clearer. It was a Buddhist chanting machine. I froze. Is this a ghost house? I'd heard some people store urns in apartments because cemetery plots are expensive and scarce. My rational mind screamed at me to stop. Knife or no knife? I respectfully backed out, closed the door, bowed 3 times and said, "I'm sorry for disturbing you. I heard a noise and just wanted to check. I mean no harm. I'm leaving." That night, I sat up with my eyes wide open. There was no way I could keep living there. Not next to a ghost house. I confronted the landlord, but he was evasive and wouldn't explain. When I moved out, the lady at the first-floor supermarket, who was watching my luggage, said, "No wonder the top floor is always empty. Weird things keep happening." She said 701 had been vacant for years. But after it was sold, strange incidents became frequent. And everyone on that floor moved out, too scared to stay. While moving, I had to get a temporary residence certificate from the police station to leave the complex. The officers mentioned recent burglaries, thieves targeting empty homes. They're impossible to catch, they said. Hearing this, I realized that the night I returned from my trip, 701 might have been broken into by a thief, who got scared off when they discovered it was a ghost house. The neighbor across the hall wasn't a living person. They really existed.